Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge. This is your latest Manchester United news. How are you all feeling tonight? Manchester is red, 2-0. Manchester City beaten. It could have been more. Carrick's first game. Fantastic performance from Manchester United. But is there a bigger issue at play? Well, there is. The ownership, of course, but I think there's also a bigger issue. You look at the Premier League today, I think there's a lot to get into. On the gamble again, the big issue at Man United is the ownership and the gamble they're willing to play when Champions League football is literally there in front of them if they just do what's required of them. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about some of the reaction from certain outlets and ex-players. But sorry I was a little bit late, actually. I was just reading about Di Marzio talking about Juventus and Zirkzee. So I just wanted to bring that into the show very early. Wasn't on the bench today, and I completely forgot. He has actually got an injury, but he wasn't on the bench today, and I completely forgot about him. And it was a little bit like when Mason Mount came on as well. I completely forgot that we had him. And I think, look, the upside of the back four in the fact that it's most people's preference is a downside in relation to playing two number 10s. I think Zirkzee becomes limited, doesn't he? If Mbeumo's going to play up front and Sesko can play up front and Mount can play as a 10 and Cunha can play as a 10 and Bruno's playing in the 10, where does Zirkzee actually get game time? So is him leaving back on the menu again now? We'll have to wait and see, I suppose. There's a bit of a banter poll in the chat. We put it in there. Would you give Carrick the job full time? Because already some people are saying they are. I mean, I think it's incredibly stupid to say yes at this point, if I'm being honest. But look, lots to get into. On the subject of chocolate again, what about a Cadbury's cream egg? How would you eat yours, says Brian. I don't like them. And Mrs. Stone's in the chat. She says, wasn't a certain someone going to piggyback our butcher, ex-players and their agenda against Martinez? I really want to understand why. You know what? I mean, it's Saturday night. And if you've never watched the Saturday night show on the United Stand, anything's open. It's a little bit different. And, you know, if you've got anything you want to get off your chest, let's do it. Let's debate it. I think Nicky Butt and Paul Scholes will be feeling very wrong tonight about what they said about Martinez. And there's two ways of reacting to that. You know, when I've been wrong on this show, like I was about the Man Utd t-shirt and Rashford drinking, I just fronted up and said, look, I've got it wrong. I'm a human being. Hopefully Nicky Butt and Paul Scholes will do that. But if they want to double down on it, I don't really care. I don't really care. I think different opinions make good conversations. I mean, looking around social media today, you've got people absolutely bigging up Martinez. You know, they photoshopped the baby to make it look like Haaland. This is the thing I always say. If you're a Man United player, the criticism probably comes from a place that you've not been good enough. And if you do well, you'll get the praise. And I want to praise players more than criticise. I said it in my match reaction. I thought Dalot, after the first 15 minutes, did really well. And what's the point in burning players when they do well? It's not an agenda. It's wanting them to do better. I thought he did okay. But look, I want to start off. We'll get into lots of your comments, but I want to start off with top four. I want to start off with the big issue. I mean, look, well done to United. Well done to United today. Isn't it a great position to be in, where when you win a Manchester derby, you play well and you deserve it, and every single player gets some credit, the manager gets credit, and we as fans reap the benefits of that. So yeah, you know, we don't get many of these, so it's a nice situation to be in. It's a good situation to be in. But I do think that, you know, to your credit, a lot of people, I was reading the comments after the match reaction and on the fan forum and online, a lot of people are saying this cannot be the fire going out on INEOS out. It cannot be the fire going out for protests. And it's going to be an interesting time because I don't really see why you can't be winning games and still saying get the owners out. I mean, it seems to be an impossibility, but why can't you be angry about the owners and still want to win? I don't know why we can't have a huge protest and say get out of our football club and still be winning games of football, because ultimately I think in the long term we're going to keep coming back to where we were 2 weeks ago. I don't see that changing, but we're always capable of these mini bounces. We're very capable of beating Man City. I mean, Amrin beat Man City at the Etihad a year ago last December. So look, we're all fully aware the bad times are probably going to come again because of the way the football clubs run. But what I cannot understand is that when I look at the way United played today and the way that we played, you know, it's not rocket science. It's very similar to what Carrick did with Ollie. You know, you play a back four, and I'm using Martinez's words here. I mean, although I said it in the match reaction, let's use the words of Lisandro Martinez. He said we defended really, really well. We played really compact. And when you play compact like that, it allows you to be aggressive. And I said this about Martinez in the match reaction when I was doing player ratings. I was like, I spoke about Maguire and how playing on the edge of his box with people really close to him makes him not weak to pace and not weak to people taking him on because he's always got someone close to him. And then when I spoke about Martinez, I said it also benefits Martinez because when he's got Luke Shaw close by, Maguire close by, Casemiro close by, and he can't get done on pace, it allows him to aggressively go and get the ball, which he's very good at. So it benefits Martinez as well. And he was talking about how compact we were. And you know, I don't know whether we can play like that every week. I don't think you can play like that against Fulham at home or Spurs at home or Forest at home. I don't think we can play like that, but we can do it against Arsenal next week. We can do it against Liverpool. We can do it against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, and it works really, really well. And Martinez spoke about how compact we were. I don't think what Carrick has brought into this team is anything new. I mean, you literally could have gone back 5 years ago to Ollie and we played like this and we were very good with it. You can make it compact and you counter with pace and it works. And I think a lot of teams can play like that. And there is a possibility that if things go our way in the next 16 games, 18 games, we could win 11 of them and it would probably get us into the top 5, which will probably get us into the Champions League. And I don't think that's a ridiculous statement. Because I think we were saying it 3 weeks ago with Amrim. Incredibly, despite the amount of points we dropped to the likes of Everton and Bournemouth and West Ham, we've always been within 2 points or 3 points of the top 4. Because that's the league. It's shit this year. It's really bad. It's a really bad league. But that's not to do with the players or Michael Carrick. Like, we might win 11 of our next 18 games and we might get in the top 5. But what astounds me, and it still astounds me, and I was thinking about this tonight, is that we can overanalyze players, we can overanalyze counter-attack, possession, but we've been consistently 3 points off the top 4 all season. Before Amrim was sacked, after Amrim sacked, when Fletcher drew to Burnley, when we lost to Brighton in the Cup, I know it's not a Cup game, when we lost to Grimsby, we've consistently been within 3 points of the Champions League all season. And I think it's fair to say that all season, fans have had concerns about the way we play. So what does that say? It says the league's not very good, and we've always had a chance of getting into the top 5. And what frustrates me is that the owners are willing to gamble again. Because at any point, 3 or 4 teams could have kicked into form and left us behind. You know, when you don't take points against Burnley and Wolves and West Ham and like that, you're dropping points, you're hemorrhaging. I think that's the first win we've had in 6 games, I think. Certainly in the last 4 or 5. We could have been left behind and it would have been our own fault. Now, we haven't been. You know, we're still in there. But I look at it and I go, this is not about Michael Carrick and it's not about the players and it's not about the fans. This is about Wilcox and the board again. Because if the league is so bad and we've dropped so many points and we're still very close to top 4, and Chelsea don't look like they're going to spend any money, and Liverpool don't look like they're going to spend any money, and Newcastle don't look like they're going to spend any money, why on earth would you... And also, all 3 of those clubs are in Europe as well. They've all got to play Champions League football. Why on earth, if they're not going to spend any money and they're going to play more games on us, would you not just go, being in the Champions League makes us 100 million of pure profit? Why don't we go and buy a player to make it easier for Michael Carrick? Why don't we just make sure? Why don't we not gamble? And that's what I would been thinking. I was watching the Arsenal game. Crap. And I was thinking, look at the results today. Burnley have gone to Liverpool and drawn. West Ham have gone to Spurs and won. Forest have drawn against Arsenal. This league has got so many draws in it and there's so many strange results. Why would you not go and just get another player for Carrick to give us a better chance? And that's the thing for me that frustrates me, is that, look, hopefully the INEOS out movement will get them out. I'm not so sure. We'll have to see. Hopefully the pressure on the board and the owners will stay. But regardless of what's going to happen with the manager and the players, I think we all know we need better players. And I've said it all season. If you bring a good player in January, or a player that's going to help us out in January, we'll benefit in May. And they're still sat there doing nothing. And I just think that's harsh. I think it's really harsh because I do feel like that result today didn't surprise me, but it's a significant result. It's another glimpse, as if we didn't need another glimpse, of what we can be capable of. And if we just, I just, you know, it's the same old thing, isn't it? Look, we've just beaten Man City and they've just bought Semenyo and Guéhi in January. Last year they bought players and Arsenal bought a fucking whole bench in the summer. And I just think, you know, we're never going to be successful on vibes. We're never going to be successful just making do. And whatever Carrick achieves, and I don't know whether he'll be bad, good, or get the job or not, but whatever Michael Carrick achieves, he's going to have to do it with that. And I don't think that's ever good enough. And that's not negative. You know, fair play to Carrick today, fair play to the players, fair play to the fans. We're all really happy. But I still think the message is the same. I think it's disgusting that we're not doing anything in the January transfer market and making sure we take... I've never known a season like it. I've never known a season like it where it's just... We've dropped so many points. And the whole time, we've taken 15 points from our last 30, and we've still maintained being 3 points off fourth, which means everyone else is dropping points. So if you can become that team that suddenly gets a little bit better, I mean, we've got, how many points have we got? I just think 10 wins probably puts us in the Champions League out of 18 games. It probably does. And also, you know, great point from Dayan, we're playing 40 games as well. Like, will they do it? I don't know. But the, you know, top four, I just did a video on That's Football. I don't think Liverpool are going to make it in the top five. And I want to ask that question. Do you think we're going to get top five? I mean, look, let's get rid of the Carrick thing because it was a bit of a joke. 70% of you wouldn't give him the job. 30% of you are pissed. 30% of you would actually give the Carrick the job after one game is incredible. But, you know, hopefully it's banter. Will United get UCL football? And then I'm going to get into some of your comments. But I wanted to just get into this at the start, right? I watch a lot of football. I'm sure many of you do. I don't think Liverpool are going to get Champions League football. I've watched them a lot this season. Really good players, no rhythm, no vision, and it feels like they want Slot gone. Liverpool are not a sacking club. They'll give Slot the season, and I think that will be to their detriment. If Liverpool change their manager to Alonso now, I'd be worried. But I don't think they will. So I think Liverpool are really susceptible. We should probably do this, actually, just so I can visualise it for you. Makes it easier for you. So I don't think Liverpool are going to get top four. I also think Newcastle, who could win tomorrow and be right up there, have got some very difficult games to come, and they've got Champions League football. So I think Newcastle, I wouldn't rule them out, but it's difficult. Which leaves us and Chelsea for fourth and fifth. And I think that's what it will be. And I think fifth place will get us Champions League football. But in a way, that makes it worse. I actually think that, I can't prove this, but I think Amrin would have got us top five. Top six. I think I said top six. Definitely top six, Amrin would have got us. I actually think we could still get fifth. But would be will, if we did the right bit of business in January. We are in a very strong position. League, one game a week, really good attack. We had a really good attack under Amrin. If we sort the defence out, we should get more points. But our major problem is going to be the midfield. It's going to be the midfield. And Mainu played well today and Casemiro played well today. But when we stretch, there will be space. And when there's space, there's not a lot of pace. We need another body in that midfield. We really, really do. I watched the game today like you. The gap between our attack and the defence was really big. Really, really big. But we were really compact in front of our back four. When we play Fulham or Spurs, you can't leave Casemiro and Mainu in front of your back four. You've got to be more attacking, which means a bigger gap. And that's where we might have problems. So I still say it's ridiculous that we won't bring a midfielder in. And if we bring a midfielder in, I think we're not talking about could getting top five, should. And also take it away from Carrick, take it away from the players. Am I right in saying, is it fair to say if we don't get Champions League football, We've absolutely missed an open goal, considering we're not in Europe. Everybody else is quite shit this season, and it's going to be a low points total for top 5. If we don't get top 5, whose fault's that? And it will be the board, because they're sat here now, fully aware. They're not going like this, la, la, la. They're fully aware of what everybody thinks. It's a really shit season in the Premier League. Everybody's beating everybody. No one's consistent. We're playing one game a week. Everyone else has got to go and play in Europe. Villa, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Newcastle. All our competitors for the top 5 have got to play in Europe. The January window's open. We're playing a new system. We know we need midfielders anyway for the new system. And we're not that strong in that area. But we still want to gamble on, well, we could get top 5 by getting nobody, when I think we will get top 5 if we do. And that's still my concern on a very positive day, is that whatever Michael Carrick achieves, I think he'd achieve it if he was given a bit of support. And there's no point talking about Amrim now, but I think if Carrick was given something, then he will achieve top 5, which is what we want. And then you can have a conversation about whether you want to go down the route of giving him the job or not. Hafito says Amrim was the problem, with a big thumbs up. Well, you're the problem, and we'll remove you. No, on a serious note, he's not been removed. On a serious note, I actually saw a tweet today, and I forget who it was from, and it was something like, and I'm ad-libbing here, it was something like, Amrim cocksuckers, take that. You know, this is what United can be. And I thought, oh my God, what are you talking about? You're point scoring on a Manchester derby win. There's not a genuine Man United fan in the world that is not happy to beat Manchester City, and you're trying to point score against your fellow fan about Amorim. Like, he's gone. And he's gone because Wilcox is a wanker, basically. What has beating Man City got to do with that? We got knocked out by Brighton last week because of Wilcox in the FA Cup, and we drew against Burnley. So, because we've won today, now's the time to start justifying sacking Amrim. Remember the Glazers and INEOS and Wilcox sacked Amrim because he wanted players. How we're turning beating Man City into an Amrim versus Carrick thing is incredible, and you are just doing Glazer work if you're doing that. Point scoring against your own fans for the Glazers. Come on. Come on. The situation now is Michael Carrick's in charge. We just need to try and get what we can and get back into Europe. My sole purpose with Amrim or not, well, I said give Amrim till the summer. But I was like, look, I don't care what happens as long as we get European football. We've just got to get European football. And tonight I'm confident we can again. 6th place will be Europa League. I look at it, Arsenal, Man City, Villa, Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea and Newcastle. That's it. 7 clubs going for 6 spots. We've got to make sure we're in the 6. Hopefully in the 5. But this, for me, forget Sunderland, forget Fulham, forget Brentford. It's 7 clubs going for 6 spots. Now, I don't think we're going to catch Arsenal, Man City or Villa. But Liverpool, us, Chelsea, Newcastle, 3 of us will get Europe, 1 of us won't. Let's see what happens. Let me know your thoughts. Ryle says, oh, someone just said, what about Zirkzee? I just think, I think Zirkzee might go. And I'm not opposed to it. I mean, look, he was very supportive of the team on Instagram. He's a really nice guy. He's been really good. He's never had a bad attitude. But I sort of look at United in a 4-3-3. And I go, where does Zirkzee get game time? You know, I think Mason Mount's going to... I mean, one thing I would say is that, and this might blow your mind a little bit, so sit down. People talk about, well, there'll always be game time. Sesko didn't get a minute today. And when Mason Mount came on, I was shocked. I forgot about him. And he's been playing recently. But, you know, you look at our fixture list, we've got 1 game left in January, which is Arsenal. In February, we've actually got 5 games, which is weird because it's a short month, but we've got 5 games in February. But it's Sunday, Saturday, Tuesday, then it's 2 weeks off to the Monday, and then we're playing on the Saturday against Crystal Palace. In March, we've got 3 games, 1 game a week. In April, we've only got 3 games, 1 game a week. And in May, we've got 4 games. So we've not got many games, really. And what does that mean? Well, we've got to win every one. They're all cup finals. There won't be much, there won't be much rotation. Like, if De Ligt comes back, does he get in the team? Does Maguire play? What happens to Yoro in heaven? If Bruno's going to play every week, how does Mason Mount play? If Mbeumo's going to play up front and share it with Sesko, it's hard to see where Zirkzee's going to get minutes. And the change in formation probably means you can let Zirkzee go and not even replace him, which is a nice bit of money for the club, isn't it? So look, I wouldn't be surprised if Zirkzee goes, because I think he'll be saying, where am I going to get the minutes again? Whereas in the 3-4-3, I think there was more opportunity for him. But look, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. I certainly think if Zirkzee went, you've got to replace him with a midfielder. So we'll have to wait and see. Mike says, we're 1 injury away in the midfield from a catastrophe. That is solely on Wilcox. I still think all our issues stem from the board. Just my opinion. I want to answer that, Mike, but somebody said, where do you honestly think things are going to go? Mate, look, this is what Roy Keane said, and I don't think I could put it any better, although I don't agree with all it. Daniel Sturridge was saying, why would you not give it to Carrick? I don't know whether he was winding up. And this is what Roy Keane said. He says he's only been there for 3 days. It was the dream scenario for him. Everyone was available. You've got Man City at home, who've been a little bit off with injuries. You could have had a man sent off, timing and a little bit of luck. They've made the most of it. I'm taking nothing away from Carrick. I'm happy to give credit where it's due. Fantastic today, but everyone just needs to calm down. And I think that's... We shouldn't be calming down tonight, but I think it's very difficult to predict. How many times have we been in this? I mean, I remember Jose Mourinho, and I use this all the time. I remember being 2-0 down at the Etihad, and Man City were going to get awarded the title that day. They were going to win the title that day. We won the second half 3-2 at the Etihad. 3-0, we won the second half to win the game 3-2. And everyone was like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? The next week we lost to West Brom, we were getting relegated, 1-0 at Old Trafford. So the thing with United, it's like winning at Anfield, isn't it? It's like winning today. You have these amazing highs where you go, this is what it should be. And then the next week, reality bites again. So look, it's a good start for Carrick. And I've got to say, it's a brilliant start. And I would hope that we can follow it up at Arsenal next week and build a bit of rhythm into Fulham and Spurs and West Ham. Because it would be great to go and get, 12 points from 15 or even better. But I've seen a lot of people, and I think they're right. Even the Arsenal game next week, whether we win, lose or draw, we'll probably play like we did today. The games I'm looking forward to are Fulham and Spurs because they're at Old Trafford, and how are we going to approach those games? So I think that's going to be the interesting thing. In short, I can't predict what's going to happen under Michael Carrick. I don't know. I don't know. As I said, Amrin beat Pep at the Etihad last December, and he didn't even pick Garnacho and Rashford. So, look, a Manchester derby, anything can happen, and it did today. But I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I still think a lot of these players are playing for the World Cup. I mean, look, Luke Shaw has apparently played more minutes than any player for Manchester United. And yet again, if you look at Luke Shaw and you look at years where England are playing in a major tournament, his minutes are massive compared to years where it's not. So it's unfathomable how fit Luke Shaw is this season. But maybe he's taking some sort of supplements, legal supplements. I mean, maybe he's changed his diet. Maybe he's doing yoga. I don't know, but there are players that it could benefit us that they're still trying to play for the World Cup. Harry Maguire was good today. Look, all I want is for us to win as many games as possible between now and the summer and put ourselves into, well, even 5th place should do it. The funny thing is for United is the teams that were competing for Champions League football, we need them to do well in the Champions League. We need Newcastle, Chelsea and Liverpool to do well in the Champions League to make 5th place the spot. because it'll be a bloody pain in the arse if 5th place isn't the Champions League. 59% of you think we'll get Champions League football. Can you call my cousin Zubi a prat, says Abdullah. Thank you very much for your super chat. Only 16 games left and United won't win 10, Mr. Deluded, says Claire Jones. Is it 16? 22? Yeah, you're right. But you know what? Don't call me Mr. Deluded, Claire. Otherwise, I'll call you something. Claire's a really fucking boring name, isn't it? Actually, while we're at it. Calling me Claire called me Mr. Deluded. Well, I'd rather be called Mr. Deluded than fucking Claire. Bloody hell. Claire. How many famous Claires are there as well? You know, Kate Winslet. Kate's a better name than Claire. What? Claire, come on. And who can think of anyone famous called Claire? Claire. No, I'm getting nothing. I'm getting absolutely nothing. So I'd rather be called Mr. Deluded than Claire. Claire. I can't even think of anybody called Claire. Claire Sweeney. Who's that? Claire Balding. Exactly. Yeah. Claire from Steps. Yeah. Chocolate eclair. Yeah. That's about the best thing you are, Claire. A chocolate eclair. That's the best you've got. Yeah. Anyway, I'm joking with you, Claire. But no, my point is, Claire. I've said Claire more than I thought I'd ever would this year because it's such a boring name. You say we won't win 10 out of 16. I say, well, if we do, that's 65 points. And last season, I don't even know if that got you top 4. But the Premier League is so shit this year, it wouldn't surprise me if top 4 was lower than 65 points. It wouldn't surprise me if 5th place was 60 points. So let's wait and see. Yeah, Claire Danes is actually a good one, to be fair. But don't tell her that. Hard work starts now to get top 4. Let's see if the form... Claire, please, and anyone else who's called Claire out there, we are just having a bit of banter on a Saturday night. Although, if anyone's having a daughter, are you going to call it Claire? I'm just putting it to the poll. Hard work starts now to get top 4, says Indy. Let's see if the form can actually happen. Glad you were right about the result. Let's go Reds. I've had a worldie this weekend. In the United Stand team score predictor, I said 2-0. And on Premier League predictions with Robbie, he said draw, I said United win. So I've had, I think I should be allowed to predict again. Yeah. Brian McClare. Yeah, again. You've got to put something in front of Claire to make it good. McClare. Chocolate eclair. There'll be another one as well. Loftus-Cheek or Pulisic is the secret midfielder, says Gemini, says Tors. And Tobias says, great result today and disciplined backline too, but I hope this result won't stop the Glinios out movement. They must leave for us to be successful. You know what? Look, we just talk, don't we? We just talk. But if you want my honest opinion, I don't think it's going to destabilise the Glazer out movement. I really don't. I don't, because I think that people... And I posted it this morning. I said, I want Man United to win and I want Glinios out. And you can be passionate about both. And I really feel it tonight. I really do. I feel really happy with United. And I feel really hopeful that we can get European football. And I feel really certain that we need to get these owners out of the football club. I absolutely do. Because if we don't, I guarantee you, we will be back here in the next 18 months. Not here, tonight's good, but where we were last week. We'll be back there in 18 months with this ownership, because I read something really good actually this afternoon. I wish I knew who said it, so I'm going to claim it. It wasn't Claire. Basically, they said, paint the picture. Michael Carrick gets Manchester United into Europe. They either give Carrick the job or they don't, it doesn't matter. New manager comes in. They don't have the funds to back them properly. Next season, we have an increased workload in Europe and a squad that's not ready for it, and we finish outside of Europe. And I thought, you know what? That actually is a very good common sense piece. Like, regardless of whether Carrick got the job or not, and I don't think he should, because I think we've been down that road before, but let's say he does, or he doesn't. Even if we get into Europe, it's going to be a big eye-opener next season for this squad to play Europe and the Premier League, and I don't think it's up to it, and would the money be there for it? I don't know. Great result today and disciplined backline too, says Tobias. Thank you. Nothing about the last 10 games made me think top 5, and as good as it is to beat City without a midfielder now, dream on, says Stephen. Look. we must take the result and move forward. But that Man City defence today was shit. And I mentioned this on That's Football. I don't feel sorry for Man City, and I don't feel sorry for Pep Guardiola, God no. But if you were Pep Guardiola today, how would you have approached that game? Like, if you... Because some people said he's got such a weak defence and he's played a high line and United got in and in and in and in. But the alternative would be to sit deep with a defence that can't defend, and we would have got in and in and in. I think the minute... I mean, it wasn't their back... I don't think any of their starting back four would play today, and it was shit. But I don't think... I think Pep just walked into the trap and hoped. I think he knew we were going to counter, but I think he knew he had to try and attack. Because if he'd sat deep, which he probably wouldn't want to do anyway, we would have penetrated them. If we'd have been allowed to go up the pitch and put crosses into the box, we'd have played Sesko and we'd have dominated them. So I think, this is why I predicted a United win, because as soon as I knew that Man City didn't have a defence, I was like, how do they stop us creating chances? If they attack us, we'll do them on the break. And if they play a little bit deeper, we'll play Sesko and put crosses in the box and we'll do them on that, because their defence was shit. So it was a fantastic performance today from Manchester United. And it played into our hands. The real challenges will be low blocks, as they always are. If we can beat low blocks, we'll get Champions League football. There are fans that actually support the board, says Mustafa. I don't know how you could, really. Because even if you want Carrick to get the job, you should be screaming for a January transfer. I don't think anyone supports the board, Mustafa. I don't. I think there might be people out there that want Carrick to get the job, and as incredible as that is, I do respect it. It's an opinion. But even if you did want Carrick to get the job, I think you'd be screaming at the board saying to back him. We are the one. So I've done that from Mike. He says, we're one injury away in the midfield. Well, exactly, which is why I think we need to bring a player in. Hi, Mark. All things considered, is it worth taking into account at this time if there's an extra Champions League spot up for grabs due to league coefficient, says Ryle? Yeah, 5th place. I think we've been considering that all season, which is why we keep saying top 5. Celebrate the win, but don't be blinded, says John. The issues haven't magically disappeared. Games against lower-end teams will really test us. We've been consistently inconsistent, and will we capitalise, says John. Johns says, we will miss Champions League. We're inconsistent and no transfers. Amrim's gone, but his fingerprints were all over this win. High press, turnovers in City's halves, instant counter-attacks, wingers tracking back and shutting down Doku and Semenyo. Amrim's impact, says Charlie. I don't know that Michael Carrick would be allowed to say it, but one thing I'm suspecting Michael Carrick won't say, that every manager that takes over says, is that I'm really surprised at how low the fitness levels are. We've really had to work on that. I'll guarantee you Michael Carrick won't say it, and I guarantee you loads of managers say it when they come in. It's almost in the blueprint book of taking over as a manager. You go, we've had to really work on the fitness because they just weren't fit enough. Guarantee you Michael Carrick won't say it, because I actually think our fitness levels are really good. I think all season we've been really good in the press, and you saw it again today. We've been really good at pressing all season. The problem has been defending, but the press has been good. After today's win, do you think we will now get the secret midfielder, says Quinster? Look, I've left Ben Jacobs alone all weekend. I know it's only 24 hours since we had the... someone's given 50 memberships. I'll talk about that in a moment. I know it's only 24 hours since Ben Jacobs said it, but I don't know who it is. Fabrizio and David Ornstein haven't spoken about it, and it was secret talks, so maybe those talks have been abandoned. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Hodgie Boy, welcome to the members club, and a massive shout out to Mojo. He's just gifted 50 memberships as well. You are an absolute legend of this chat, pal, and thank you, and I hope you're all saying thank you if you got one. Sound Dog with a €20 super chat. You're very generous, pal. Thank you very much. This Saturday night, he said, I've just saw another channel say, should we make Carrick permanent and get Champions League football after one game? One, told them be aware influence they can have on the fan base who get carried away. Keep the focus, sack the board. I couldn't give a shit about other people's opinions. You know, we've got our own. Let's have it. I don't even want to answer the question. We've just won the Manchester Derby. But if you want the honest answer, Michael Carrick shouldn't be considered for this job until at least April. Is that a fair thing to say? Yeah, it's an intelligent thing to say. Michael Carrick You cannot. Even he said, even he hasn't ruled it out. He said, we'll have to wait and see. And I think there are circumstances where they'll give him the job because he's cheap. And if he does well, why would you spend money on another manager? So I think if he does well, they'll do exactly what they did with Ollie. Don't trust this board. They're liars. If Carrick does well, they'll give him the job because they don't have to pay anybody else. So they will give it him. Of course they will. But what I would say is, if he went and won 10 games in a row, I don't think anybody is going to say you can't give him the job. As incredible as it would be, and you could still be making the same mistake as Ollie, I think if he wins 10 games in a row, you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody saying we might just have to try it again. But 10 games' time is April. We should not be saying anything about giving the job to Carrick until April. I think anybody who says it in February or March is a moron, because that would be Ollie territory. I think with Carrick, let's see where we are in mid-March. After the international break, mid-March, let's see where we are. And I would hope that if we're having that conversation, it's because it's resoundingly obvious that this guy can play multiple formations and multiple systems and, you know, not just counter-attack. But for me, you can't have that conversation till April. And look, we live in a world of hype and bluster, and I'm sure people will have the conversation. But for me, you've got to wait until April, because otherwise, it's stupid, isn't it? Daniel Thompson, gifted a membership. You're a legend, sir. Today's one piece in a bigger picture and we can't get carried away, says Emily Derry. Hope you're doing well, but we are the one injury away from bare bones in midfield, which could tank us. Look, Emily, Manu has had a lot of injuries in the last 18 months. Casemiro is in a dangerous position where he's in his 30s and he wants to play in the World Cup. You know, we are one injury away in the midfield. I would go and get a midfielder. I think we all would. Mark, is there a chance you would agree with Carrick as permanent manager? If so, what are the circumstances? And I've literally just answered it, Naveen. Great question. I think for me, just to summarise, I really am against giving it to Carrick because of, and it's not fair. It's not fair what I'm about to say, but I'm scared. I'm scared of doing the same thing over and over again. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer won his first 8 games. We gave him the job and it was a bad idea. And it's normally a bad idea to give an interim the job anyway. I think in football history, loads of clubs have had interims and given them the job and it ends up going badly. So I just think it's a bad idea today. But I would say, let's have the conversation in April. Let's have a sample of 10 games and let's have the conversation in April. Because I think in April, we'll probably be in a position where we go, thanks, but no thanks. But if we're in a position where it's like 8 or 9 wins out of 10, let's have the conversation then. But to have the conversation before then is incredibly amateur, in my opinion. I'm not doing that, Ronnie. Hope you're well, Mark and United Stand. Thank you for the great shows today. Wonderful day. So happy to win. Main priority remains clear. Need the ownership out, says Daniel. Thank you, pal. John, we've done that. Board out, of course. No one mentioned it, but what happened to the UAE interest or wherever it was again? Surely now it's time to play their cards, says Ray. I don't think there was anything in it. If there was anything in it, surely they'd make their move. Now's the time. And look, in relation to INEOS out, you still need an alternative because it can't be us. DJ says, I feel there's a difference between opinion and agenda. Hopefully Button Scholes will say they were wrong, but I doubt it, says DJ. Look, I said Delo deserved a 6.5 today if 6 is average. And loads of people were like, 4, he's fucking shit. That's agenda in my opinion. Because he had a bad 15 minutes and then I thought he played well. And he's here till the summer. I'd rather have a Delo confident and doing better than, oh, he's fucking shit every game. So, but some people will go, no, he's fucking shit. I think he's shit. I don't care what he does, he's shit. So you're right, that is agenda. But people are entitled to those opinions. Like some people just think, like I saw a tweet from Beth where she said, I was wrong about Dorgu. You know, I think there's a real player there. And, at least she's got the honesty to tweet it because some people need to learn. Like with young players, you shouldn't be writing them off. It's what we are. It's any United fan who's been around the block a bit knows that you don't, you nurture young talent. You don't write young talent off. I don't like it when people have a pop at Dorgu or Yoro or Sesko or, Chong when he was here, because they're going to make mistakes because they're kids. They're not the finished article. And I think Dorgu's been getting better and better and better. And at 21, imagine what he'll be at 23 if we just keep developing him. But it's the board's fault for bringing him in, and the fans are impatient. So you want somebody to be ready, and you go, well, he's not ready, he's not good enough, and then the cycle continues. So Carrick, says Carp, let's be real, the win today repeats the cycle, says John. Happy for the win, but we cannot paper over the cracks, says Mike. I'm all for celebrating a win. However, we must not forget that INEOS is and who they are. Carrick can build the foundation to the next manager, says Ryan. Dorgu's words about changes in training after the game say a lot. It hasn't really been changed. It's more the intensity of how he wants us to play. He wants us to be on the front foot all the time, says Nosk. Yeah, but look, I saw, I don't know whether it might have been John Terry. He said something like, that's the United of old, on the front foot, attacking football, fast, this, that, and the other. And I thought, I think John Terry was a Man United fan when he was a kid, by the way. I think I'm right in saying that. That's not the United of old for me. I'm sorry, it's not. That's the United of Ollie 5 years ago. That's not the United of Sir Alex. Sir Alex would go away in Europe and counter-attack, but 30% at Old Trafford possession is not the United of old. That's exactly the right way to play against Man City today. Exactly the right way. And it was very entertaining to watch. But we mustn't get carried away that we've suddenly reinvented the wheel in how we're going to play, and this is Man United. I mean, I heard Gary Neville saying that's the best game we've played in years. Yeah, 5 years, if you like Solskjaer's football. It's very effective against certain teams. What I want to see is a game against Fulham at home in a couple of weeks where we create as many chances, the crowd is as excited, and we have 65% possession, And that's when it starts to get exciting, when we start to see different ways of playing. I can just hurry, I'm just going to smell something, and I'm like... Odd. So it was from the kitchen. Dorgu's word. Anyway, I don't want Carrick having the job permanent, says Mike. I want a proper manager who's going to make us better. We need ambition and ambitious manager. Yeah, and as I said, I think let's give it 10 games. Let's see where we are in April, and let's see what we're doing against teams like Fulham, etc. Wasn't a certain someone. I've done that one. There we go. I've got a few comments to catch up on here. Just seen a tweet here. Don't know how mainstream it is. Okay. No, we won't cover that at the moment. All right, let me just catch up here. If Carrick does well, should he be considered with other managers United will look at in the summer, says Castle? I think we've answered all those. If Bruno plays world class, gets his third or fourth by breaking the assist record and wins the World Cup as the main man, is he the Ballon d'Or front runner, says Naveen? I don't think Bruno's winning the Ballon d'Or. Andre Gomez says, I think West Ham is going to be a real test for Carrick. How is our game when we play with the biggest amount of possession? Can we control the game? Imagine if we go into that with 4 wins. Andre, thank you. I just want to be in the chair and present... Sorry, Mike says, I just want to be in clear and present danger. If we give the job to Carrick because he wins a couple of games, just need to be patient. Roy's a legend for calling out these clowns on Sky, says Reese. And Arsenal are Clare favourites to win the league, says Alan. Lovely stuff. And Mustaf says, I'm serious. I've seen people defend the board and saying we should give them time. It'd be incredible if people are doing that, surely. You forgot to call my cousin Zubi a prat, says Abdul. I didn't. Zubi, you're a prat. And Emily Derry says, Pep is sitting there tonight knowing he has Gahey coming to reinforce that defence. We're sitting there crossing every finger that Ugarte, Casemiro and Mainu can last the season. I think this is a great point by Emily. I think it's a great point, and it was in my mind about an hour ago. Not Emily. It was this. Is it fair to say that when we win these games, of which we've done plentiful times, we've knocked Arsenal out the FA Cup, we've been to the Etihad and won, we've won tonight, we've been to Anfield and won, all in the last few years, and we get massively excited and we enjoy it quite rightly. But is there anything around it consistent? No. Man City have lost today, but they could still win the league this season. They could get their defenders back. Semenyo can click. Haaland can score the Golden Boot. They could win the Champions League this year. They could win the FA Cup this year. They could win the league still. And we beat them. And at the end of the season, beating Man City, but them winning the Champions League or the Premier League or the FA Cup gives them a better season than us. And I think that's the thing. When you talk about why aren't we buying a player in January, and you talk about should we give Michael Carrick the job, or should we stop putting pressure on the owners, we will always do what we did today. We will always have these Anfields and wins in the derby, but will we ever have what these teams we beat do? Because Liverpool are the league holders and they're in the Champions League. Man City are in a title race and they're still in the Champions League. And that's the thing. Enjoy the result. We've won the battle, but can we win the war? And that's always been the problem for the last decade. It's like, we're only playing 40 games this season. We need Champions League football. We need that revenue. I watched Arsenal tonight and I'm like, they had a really good start in the lineup and they brought on Jesus, Trossard, Saka, Moreno and Eze and left people like Havertz on the bench. They have that squad because they've been in the Champions League 3 years in a row. We can't build until we buy, really. You know, we've got to buy success to build success. And, you know, it's great to win the Manchester derby for more reasons than one. But in a way, I'd rather lose the Manchester derby and win the next 6 than win the Manchester derby and not win in the next 6, if you know what I mean. We've got to find that consistency because that's what Man City are going to do. They'll lick their wounds tonight, but I guarantee they'll start winning again very soon and they'll probably win something at the end of the season as well. And we've got to become that club. We have to become that club if we're going to be truly successful, because we can't, if we're just going to win one-off games, it's a bit like when Man City used to beat us every now and again when we were winning trophies. Ray says, sorry, let me just go through this. Last year, says Default 66, last year when Ten Hag got sacked, Ashford had a short list of Potter, Southgate, Carrick due to the low IQ in the squad, and a year later we appoint one of those contenders. Thoughts, says Default 66. Well, I don't know whether that's true. I presume that's just paper talk. I don't know whether it's true, and I don't know what it means because Dan Ashworth isn't here anymore. I just crave the day when we can actually go toe-to-toe with rivals without hope but expecting. The board and co have killed that and we just hope, says Ray. My missus asked me, why did I shed a tear when we beat City today but not when our son was born? She just doesn't understand, says Paddy. You maybe should have shed a tear when your son was born, but, you know, I'm not going to judge you. Hat says, West Ham away, Everton away, Palace at home, Newcastle away. That stretch of games were the ones I used to judge Carrick if he can crack the low block. Yeah, look, you know what? You look at our results this season. We played well against Arsenal. We were shit at the Etihad. But we beat Liverpool at Anfield. We beat Brighton. We beat Sunderland. The majority of the bad points we've dropped have been Brentford, Wolves, Everton. You know, we did beat Palace, to be fair. So those games are important to. I mean, I think Palace are going to be shit now. I mean, one thing I would say tonight, I don't think Glasner's getting the United job. There's no way they're going to go near Glasner. He's just pulled a Maresca and an Amorim. He's done an interview today, basically slagging his board off. So I don't think United are ever going to go anywhere near Glasner now. I think he's off the charts for what he's done today. And I don't blame him today. I don't blame Glasner today, by the way. He just basically said, they've just sold my captain the day before a Premier League game. I might not be here for the rest of the season. So if Carrick does well, I've done that from Castle as well. Thank you very much. I just want to make sure I've caught up on these. Thank you so much from Emily Derry. I can see clearly now the rain has gone, says 1 Inch Wonder. Chocolate Eclair, says M. Parker. There we go. Today I saw the old Man United, the one I watched growing up. Glinios out though, says user. Mate, I don't know whether to comment on this because I don't want to pop your bubble, but what about today? How old are you? Were you like 8 when Ollie was in charge? Because what about today reminded you of the old Man United? Beating Man City, the excitement, the goals, the atmosphere, yes. But 30% possession, counter-attacking, that's not the old Man United under Sir Alex Ferguson. It's not. I mean, it's just not. The style of football is not what we did under Sir Alex Ferguson. It was counter-attacking football against a team that left loads of space at the back. And it was brilliant to watch. But let's not pretend that that style of play is going to work every week. It'll work against bigger teams that we have to sit back against because we're not good enough to hurt them. And Ollie was a master of this. It was very effective under Ollie. And I'm in no way, shape or form that was the way to play. And some people were moaning about the lineup, and I said, no, it's the right way to play. You put Maguire and Martinez on the edge of the box, you stick Casemiro and Mainu in front, you took your full-backs in and used the pace of Mbermo and Dorgu and Ahmad on the break, and you let Bruno ping him. And it was perfect. And we won the game 2-0, and it could have been 5. But that's not like United 15 years ago. It's not. It's just not. We've got to try and find different ways of playing. And Michael Carrick knows that. He played in those teams. We won't be able to play like that against Fulham and Spurs. And that's what I'm looking forward to, because I think that if we can break the low block, we'll get Champions League football. But the crowd was good. The atmosphere was good. The chances created were good. The excitement was good. And that was nice to see. Love days like this, Mark. Keep them coming, says Scott. Well, I just think however long it lasts, whether it's the start of something or just a one-off, I just think that, you know, what a horrible start to 2026. I remember doing the show on Christmas Eve and saying 2025 has been so bad, 15th in the league, lost the Europa League final, up and down results. Surely 2026 is going to be better. And then in 2026, we sack our manager straight away. We're not buying any players. The board are fucking useless. We're interviewing Ollie to come back. And, you know, you're sort of like going, that's in the first 2 weeks of 2026. What the fuck's going on? We're knocked out the FA Cup. We're only going to play 40 games, which is our least amount of games since 1913. Yeah, it's a bad start to the 2 weeks of 2026. But then we've just beaten Man City in the Manchester derby, and it's been very exciting. So I think today, I think Michael Carrick would say it. Hopefully the players would say it. This is for the fans, isn't it? That's results like this are for the fans, especially if you're living in Manchester. And well, you know what Seb said to me, it's so true. It's always been a bugbear of mine, and you know, obviously you're not going to say anything because it's kids. But when I pick Seb up from school, sometimes there's a lad in his class who always seems to come out before us, and he's walking ahead of us with a Man City rucksack on. And, you know, you're not going to do anything, you know, you're not going to pick any mud up and throw it at him because it's not, you're not going to do that. But when I'd finished the match reaction, I walked into the kitchen and Seb had been watching it in there. He said, I can't wait till Monday. And I was like, why? He said, I'm going straight up to such and such. And I'm saying, have that. And I thought, you know, that's what it's about though, isn't it? At its purest level, we kick a ball, we watch a game because we love the game. And we might have owners that love money and not the game. And if we had owners that love the game, I think we'd be a better club. But we as fans, at the very core, love the game. And you know what? That's what it is about. And it's not just living in Manchester, actually, is it? Because there's Man City fans all over the bloody place now. And you might have them at the work in London or, you know, across the road in India or, you know, in the local pub in the United States. And the reality is, for the next few days, we can go, up yours, have it. And we don't get that very often. So, look, we should always embrace that. And, you know, it was nice to hear that from Seb, because he's absolutely spot on. You go into school on Monday morning, you say, have that. We battered you, and it could have been worse. And we did batter them, and it could have been worse. And we did win the game. And I loved the fact that Pep Guardiola and Bernardo Silva said, look, it should have been a red card, but that's not why we lost the game. We can't use that as an excuse. The better team won the game. And I loved that because I think we've been in that position a couple of times this season in games where we've dropped points and there's been decisions where we went, well, we should have had that. But then we've gone, but ultimately we were shit. And I liked that from Pep and I liked it from Bernardo Silva because it's true. Maybe it should have been a red card. Maybe Delay was a little bit lucky, but in the grand scheme of things, we absolutely deserved to win that game. We did. Quantum says, Mark, neither you nor the fans should lose hope. INEOS are a cancer, and like the toughest cancers, they can be beaten. Thank you, pal. And Spencer says, do you think a loss today would have been more productive to get the Glazers and INEOS out? Is this a loss, in your opinion, regarding the bigger picture? Sir Alex smiling was a beautiful sight, says Porf. I'll leave that comment. I was going to say something. It's not the time. Do you think a loss today? Let me go back to the Spencer one. Look, there was a lot of people in the chat saying before the game, I'd like us to lose because it will put more pressure on the owners. I can't be that. I can't do that because look at how we feel winning. I always want us to win. I always like us to win. Even if it's an embarrassing win, it's still a win. I'm talking about when I've been given shit before when we beat Brentford 2-1 with 2 McTominay goals and everyone was like, it's embarrassing, but it's still a win. I think with regards to the movement, I am Robert McCormack, thanks for your super chat. I'm not reading it out. I'm not in the mood for that shit tonight, sorry. It's just trying to say Steve Holland masterclass. I'm not ready for that sort of banter, Robert. Really, I'm not. I think Steve Holland is a waste of space and a stupid appointment and he's a Southgate sidekick and I'm not convinced and I don't like him being at the club, but I like Carrick. But my point is, in relation to, what was the point? The better point from Roberts was Spencer's about would a loss have been better for us in the bigger picture? I don't think so. I don't think United getting relegated gets the Glazers out. I don't think United losing 5 games in a row gets the Glazers out. I really don't think that would be it. I don't think you can wish for losses. I mean, look, if United lost the next 5 games in a row, the pressure and noise would grow and grow and grow. I think you do need bad results for them to be under pressure, but it's whether you want bad results. You've got to... It's almost you're hurting yourself, aren't you? Oh, look, it's an interesting point, and it's probably not one that I want to get into. But if things got worse, would they be under more pressure? Yes. It's whether you want United to lose games, and I just can't want that, if you know what I mean. It's like a roundabout manager comes in, hope for a few months, and they get sacked. Interim comes in, nostalgia merchants love it, sacked, repeat, INEOS out, says Joshua. Red panty night incoming, Mark. All hail Carrick, says Evan Connor. Wow. And Ben says we also need a left winger so we can move Dorgu to left back. Shaw was on fumes by the end and we don't have a backup left back, says Ben. I think that's a good point. I'll buy the club now. United have won today, says Sheikh Jazim. I think that's a good point. I think Luke Shaw did okay today because he was allowed to sit back. Sahel, thank you very much for your super chat. But against a Fulham or a Spurs, you want your fullback bombing forward, back and forward, like Luke Shaw 5 years ago. I don't know whether he can do that anymore, but 1 game a week, maybe he can. I don't know. I was impressed with Dorgu, yeah. Eddie Mack says, happy with the win, still a lot to do. Yeah, thank you very much, pal. Well, look, we've deserved our Saturday night tonight. It's been a very good day for us as well. Liverpool drawing to Burnley has helped us out a lot. Be wary of Chelsea. They've got 5 very winnable games. I think Chelsea are one to watch. But if we can come through Arsenal, I think we've got a few good games coming up as well. It's going to be very interesting. At least we've got something to play for, which is definitely what we want. We need European football. We desperately need it. Financially, we need it. We need European football. Anyway, great show tonight. Really enjoyed it. We're back tomorrow, of course. Sunday night show. Seb's got a match tomorrow, actually. I might do it at around dinner time tomorrow, about 12:30 UK time. Yeah, I might do it at about 12:30 tomorrow. Because Seb's got a game in the morning. I haven't played in ages, and it's a cup game as well. Yeah, might do it around midday tomorrow. Yeah, probably will do. So there we go. Take care, everyone. Stay safe, and I will speak to you on the next one. 60% if you think we're going to get the Champions League. I think we definitely get the Champions League if these owners spent some fucking money. Take care. Speak to you soon.